The night was silent, but not peaceful. The ruins of the alien outpost stood like broken teeth under the pale light of dying moons. Wind whistled through cracked metal walls, carrying the smell of rust and something darker blood. Jaren, a human scavenger, moved carefully through the wreckage. His boots crunched softly on the broken ground as he kept one hand on his rifle. He had come looking for salvage, old tech he could sell, but something in the air felt wrong. The place was too quiet, too still. Then he saw it. A trail, thin, glowing, blue drops on the floor. Blood, but not human blood. It shimmered faintly, as if alive, as if calling him deeper into the shadows. Jaren froze. He knew what it meant. Someone was bleeding, and it wasn't one of his own kind. He thought about turning back. This was none of his business. Whoever was bleeding was trouble, and trouble never came cheap in this galaxy. But his curiosity pulled him forward. Slowly, he followed the glowing trail. The corridor grew darker as he walked. His flashlight swept across torn wires, cracked walls, and half-burned alien symbols. The silence pressed harder against his ears, until he thought he could hear his own heart pounding louder than his steps. Then he heard it. A sound, weak, a breath, or maybe a whisper. Jaren lifted his rifle higher and stepped into the main hall. The light from his torch cut through the dark and found her dot at first. He thought it was just another body. She was slumped against the wall. One hand pressed to her side. Her long hair tangled and wet with blood. Her skin was pale silver, shining faintly in the moonlight, and her eyes half open glowed like dying embers. She was alive. For a moment, Jaren didn't move. She was not human, that much was clear. She was alien, fragile and strange, yet beautiful in a way that unsettled him. Her chest rose and fell in shallow breaths. Her lips trembled as she tried to speak, but only blood came. Against his better judgment, Jaren knelt beside her. He pressed his hand against her wound, trying to stop the bleeding. Her blood was cold, like ice against his skin, and it scared him. Her lips moved again, this time. A word escaped. "They are coming." Then her head dropped, and she went. Still, not dead but unconscious. Jaren's mind raced. Who were they? Whoever had done this was still out there, and if they found her with him, they would kill him too. The smart thing was to leave her here, to walk away before her enemies came. But something inside him wouldn't let him. He looked at her again. She was broken, bleeding, helpless, and yet, in her weak grip, her hand clung to his sleeve as if begging him not to let go. Jaren cursed under his breath. He didn't even know her name. She wasn't human. She might even be dangerous, but he couldn't leave her like this. With a grunt, he lifted her into his arms. She was lighter than he expected, almost weightless, but her body trembled against him. Her blood smeared across his jacket, glowing faintly in the dark. He felt exposed, like a beacon for anyone hunting her. The sound of engines echoed faintly in the distance. Ships. Someone was landing nearby. Jaren's heart hammered. He had to move. He carried her out of the ruins and into the night. The cold wind bit his face as he looked up at the sky. Dark shapes were cutting through the clouds, ships descending fast. Whoever they were here for her. Jaren tightened his grip on the alien woman. He had no reason to risk his life for her, but in that moment, the choice felt already made. He whispered to himself, almost in disbelief, "Damn it, you'd better be worth this." The alien stirred weakly in his arms, her eyes fluttering open for a heartbeat. She looked at him, confused, almost afraid. And then something strange passed between them. Trust. She let her eyes close again. The ships landed in the distance, their lights sweeping across the ruins. Shadows of armored figures began to spread out, hunting. Jaren knew he had only minutes. He pulled her closer, turned toward the black hills, and started running. The galaxy would remember many great battles. It would remember wars and victories that shook entire worlds. But the moment that changed everything began here in the ruins, under dying moons, with a bleeding woman in the arms of a single human. Jaren's boots hit the dirt hard as he ran into the black hills. The alien woman, limp in his arms. The cold night air burned in his lungs, but he didn't slow down. Behind him, the sound of engines still echoed. Whoever had come was spreading out, searching the ruins. The woman stirred weakly against him, her breath shallow, her silver skin looked paler than before, her wounds still glowing with faint blue blood. Jaren glanced down at her, frustration knotting inside his chest. He could drop her right here. He could leave her under the broken rocks and walk away. Nobody would know. Nobody would blame him. He wasn't a hero. He was a scavenger, someone who sold scraps to survive. Helping her wasn't his fight, but her words replayed in his head. They are coming. He stopped, breathing hard. The hills stretched endlessly in the moonlight, jagged like broken bones. He set her down against a rock, crouching beside her. His rifle rested in the dirt as he pressed his hand back on her wound. Her eyes flickered open, glowing faintly. She tried to speak, but her voice cracked. "You should run." Jaren gave a bitter laugh. "You're the one bleeding out, and you tell me to run?" She coughed, blue blood staining her lips. "They will kill you if they see me with you." "That's the problem," Jaren muttered. "They'll kill me even if I walk away. They're not the kind to leave witnesses." Her hand, weak and trembling, brushed against his wrist. For a moment, her glowing eyes locked with his. They weren't just alien eyes, they carried fear. And something else. Something he understood all too well, that she didn't want to die alone. Jaren cursed under his breath. He hated this. He hated how his human heart kept dragging him into other people's battles. He hated that every survival instinct screamed to walk away, but he couldn't, not this time. He ripped open a small pouch on his belt, pulling out a human field kit. The med gel hissed as he sprayed it onto her wound. The blue blood sizzled against the human tech, and she let out a sharp cry, clutching at his arm. "It burns." "Yeah, that means it's working," Jaren said through gritted teeth. "Try not to die before I figure out who the hell you are." The bleeding slowed. Her body relaxed, though her eyes still darted to the sky. Fear etched across her face. "They won't stop," she whispered. "Not until I'm dead." "Yeah, I got that," Jaren replied. "But lucky for you, I don't like being told what to do." He lifted her into his arms again, heavier now with exhaustion weighing him down. His camp wasn't far, hidden in a cave carved into the hills, shielded from scanners. If he could get her there, maybe she'd live long enough to explain what the hell was going on. The night grew darker as the ship's lights swept across the land. He crouched low, moving carefully, sticking to the shadows. He heard voices metallic, filtered through helmets, alien mercenaries. Their language was harsh and sharp, filled with clicks that made his skin crawl. They were closer than he thought. Jaren pressed his back against a rock, holding the alien woman tight against him. Her breathing was shaky, her head resting against his chest. For a moment, he wondered if she had already slipped away. Then her fingers gripped his shirt weakly. She was still there. The mercenaries' footsteps grew louder. He could see their silhouettes moving across the hills, weapons glowing faintly in the dark. He shut his eyes, forcing himself to stay calm. Just a little further, just a little longer. When the voices finally faded into the distance, he moved again, climbing the rocks with slow, steady steps. By the time he reached the mouth of his cave, his arms burned from carrying her, and sweat dripped down his face. Inside, the air was cooler. He laid her down gently on a blanket, his small lantern casting a soft light over her features. Her silver hair spread across the fabric, her glowing blood staining it with eerie beauty. Jaren sat back, exhausted, staring at her. "What the hell am I doing?" he whispered. He should have left her. Every choice up to now screamed wrong. He was dragging death to his door, yet something about her wouldn't let him. Her eyes opened again, faint but steady. She looked at him as if trying to understand why a human, a stranger, would risk everything for her. "Why?" she asked weakly. Jaren hesitated. He didn't have a good answer. He wasn't noble. He wasn't selfless. But staring at her, he realized the truth. "Because if I don't," he said slowly, "nobody else will." Silence filled the cave. Outside, the ships still searched, their lights cutting across the hills. But inside, a strange calm settled between them. The alien woman's lips curved into the faintest smile before her eyes slid shut again. Jaren leaned back against the wall, rifle in hand, watching the cave entrance. His decision had been made, and somewhere deep inside, he knew this night this choice would not only change his life, It would change worlds. The cave was quiet, but Jaren's mind was not. He sat near the entrance, rifle balanced on his knees, eyes scanning the night. The alien woman lay on the blanket behind him, her breathing shallow but steady. Outside, the search continued. The glow of alien ships drifted across the hills, and the sound of strange voices rose and fell like hunting dogs on a trail. He had only bought himself a little time. Every few minutes, he turned to look at her. The way the lantern light touched her skin made her look almost unreal, silver and fragile, like she belonged to another world entirely, which of course she did. He rubbed a hand across his face. "Damn it, Jaren," he muttered to himself. "You should have left her." But when she stirred, opening her eyes slowly, the thought vanished. Her glowing eyes fixed on him, soft but sharp, filled with something he couldn't read. "You should have run," she whispered, her voice raspy, but clearer than before. Jaren gave a short laugh, though there was no humor in it. "Funny, that's exactly what I told myself." Didn't listen. For a long moment, they just stared at each other. Then she asked, "Why risk it?" He leaned against the cave wall. "Because you were bleeding out, and I don't like seeing anyone die in the dirt if I can stop it." Her eyes softened, but there was a shadow behind them. Something deeper, something she hadn't said. "Who are you?" Jaren asked finally. That she hesitated. Her lips trembled, and he could see the war inside her. To speak or to stay silent. At last, she whispered, "My name is Sira." The name felt strange in his mouth when he repeated it. "Sira. And why the hell are mercenaries crawling all over the hills?" "Looking for you." Her eyes glowed brighter. For a moment, like fire beneath glass, she looked away, toward the lantern's faint light, and spoke slowly. "I carry something they want, something they cannot have." Jaren frowned. "Something? What? Money? Tech?" Her gaze returned to him, sharp and unflinching. "Knowledge." The word hung heavy in the air. "What kind of knowledge?" He pressed. She swallowed hard, as if even speaking was dangerous. "A weapon. Not a blade, not a gun. A design. If it spreads, entire civilizations could burn. I stole it. And now, they want me silenced." Jaren's stomach turned. Suddenly, her fear made sense. No wonder mercenaries were landing in the hills. No wonder she thought death would follow her. "You stole it," he said slowly. Her voice hardened, though it was weak. "I took it to stop them, my people. They were building it in secret, planning to unleash it on the galaxy. I couldn't let that happen." Jaren rubbed his forehead. This wasn't the kind of mess he ever wanted to touch. He was a scavenger, not a soldier. But somehow, he had picked up the most dangerous fugitive. "In the quadrant, you realize," he said carefully, "that carrying you round makes me a target too?" Her eyes dropped, shame flickering across her face. "I know. If you leave me here, maybe they will not follow you." He stared at her for a long time, then shook his head. "You really don't get humans, do you?" Confusion crossed her face. "You saved this weapon plan for everyone else," Jaren said. "Didn't matter that it wasn't your fight. Didn't matter that you'd be hunted. You still did it." She blinked, uncertain. "That's the thing about us," he went on, leaning closer. "We're stubborn idiots. If someone's bleeding, we don't walk away, even when we should." For the first time, her lips curved into the faintest smile. It was tired, broken, but real. Before either of them could say more, a sudden noise echoed from outside. Footsteps, several. Jaren's body tensed. He snatched up his rifle, motioning for her to stay quiet. He crawled to the cave entrance and peered into the night. 3 figures were moving through the hills, their armor black and ridged, glowing lines running across their suits. They carried long rifles that hummed with alien energy. Mercenaries. They were close. Too close. Jaren's pulse quickened. He ducked back into the cave, whispering sharply, "They're here." Sira tried to sit up, wincing in pain. "You must leave me." "Not a chance." Jaren cut her off. He checked his rifle, setting it to full charge. "Stay down. Don't move." The mercenaries' voices echoed just outside, harsh, guttural words in their alien tongue. One of them swept a scanner across the rocks. The device beeped once. Jaren cursed under his breath. They were seconds away. He pressed himself against the stone, rifle raised. His finger rested on the trigger, but his heart hammered in his chest. If he fought, the sound would draw more. If he did nothing, they'd find Sira anyway. Her eyes caught his, glowing in the lantern's dim light, and in that moment, he saw it again, the shadow of secrets, the weight of something that went beyond them both. For the first time, he wondered, was saving her the start of his greatest mistake, or the only choice that mattered? The footsteps stopped outside the cave. Silence. Then, slowly, a mercenary's helmeted head appeared at the entrance. Jaren didn't breathe. The mercenary's helmet slid into view at the mouth of the cave, the green glow of his visor scanning the darkness. Jaren's breath caught in his chest. His finger hovered on the trigger, sweat dripping down his temple. Behind him, Sira lay weak and half-conscious, her glowing blood still marking the blanket. One wrong move, and they would both be dead. The mercenary stepped inside. His weapon hummed with deadly power, casting faint light on the stone walls. Jaren waited, every muscle tight. His rifle aimed but not yet fired. He needed the right second. The alien took 2 steps further. Then his gaze fell on the blanket. Jaren didn't wait. He fired. The blast cracked through the cave, white light exploding against the mercenary's chest plate. The alien fell back with a roar, armor sparking, but the sound was enough. Outside, the others shouted in their guttural tongue, "Move!" Jaren barked at Sira, though he knew she could barely stand. He slung his rifle and hauled her up, throwing her arm across his shoulder. She gasped in pain, but clung to him. Together, they stumbled out the back exit of the cave, a narrow tunnel that opened to the hills. Behind them, the mercenary's boots slammed against the rocks. Energy blasts ripped through the cave, burning the stone. Jaren pushed forward, dragging Sira into the night. The hills stretched endlessly, jagged shadows under the moons. Jaren ran as fast as he could with her weight against him. Every few steps, he fired a blind shot back to slow their hunters. "They won't stop," Sira whispered, her voice trembling. "I noticed." Jaren gritted, jumping down a slope. His boots skidded on the loose dirt, almost sending them both crashing. "Any more useful advice?" She gave a faint, pained smile. "Don't die. Great plan." "Why didn't I think of that?" he muttered, yanking her forward. Blaster fire scorched the rocks around them. Shards of stone cut across his face. He ducked low, pulling Sira against a boulder. His rifle hissed as he reloaded, heat steaming off the barrel. The mercenaries closed in fast, their dark shapes spreading out like wolves circling prey. Sira pressed her back against the rock, her eyes glowing in the shadows. "You can still leave me. They want me, not you." Jaren turned, his jaw tight. "Stop saying that. You're with me now." Her gaze softened, but her fear didn't fade. She whispered something in her language, a word he didn't know, but it carried weight, almost like a prayer. The mercenaries shouted again. One fired a shot that slammed into the boulder, shaking the ground. Jaren knew they couldn't stay pinned here. He scanned the hills. A narrow ridge led toward a cluster of ruins, half buried in the earth. Old stone towers, broken and leaning, but maybe enough cover to fight back. He grabbed her hand. "We run. Now." They sprinted. Doors close to sprinting as Sira could manage. She stumbled often, her wounds slowing her, but Jaren kept her moving. His chest burned, his legs screamed, but adrenaline carried him forward. The ruins loomed ahead. As they slipped inside the crumbling walls, Jaren shoved her against a pillar for cover. He dropped to one knee, rifle braced, and fired back. 2 mercenaries went down, their armor sparking with smoke. The last one ducked behind a rock, waiting. Sira clutched his arm. "There will be more. They will keep coming until..." "Until what?" Jaren asked, firing another shot. "Until I am dead," she whispered. Jaren's eyes narrowed. He glanced at her, the pain, the glow of her blood, the secrets in her gaze. She wasn't just some fugitive. She was the spark to something far bigger. "Then we don't let them win," he said firmly. Suddenly, the ridge behind them lit up with the harsh beams of searchlights. More ships, more mercenaries. Jaren's stomach sank. Hell, Sira tried to push herself upright, but her legs buckled. "You should go." He caught her, steadying her. His voice dropped, low and steady. "Listen to me. I didn't carry You out of that cave just to drop you now. We fight. Together. For a moment. Her glowing eyes locked with his. Something shifted between them. Not just fear. Not just survival. A fragile thread of trust. Woven in the middle of chaos. The mercenaries closed in. Their heavy boots thundered on the rocks. Their weapons glowing bright. Jaren set his jaw, charging his rifle to full. Stay behind me. And then the night exploded. Blasts lit the ruins in fire and smoke. Jaren fired back, shouting with raw defiance as he fought to hold the line. Sira, weak but determined, reached for a shard of alien metal and hurled it at one mercenary's visor, giving Jaren the chance to finish him. For every shot he fired, more shadows appeared. But he didn't back down. He couldn't. Because now it wasn't just about survival. It was about a choice he had already made. The human and the alien woman alone, wounded, hunted, stood together in the ruins while the galaxy's killers closed in. And the hunt had only just begun. The ruins were older than memory. Broken stone towers rose like bones under the pale moons, jagged and sharp, as if the land itself had been scarred by war long ago. Now, under their shadows, a new battle was about to begin. Jaren pressed his back against the cold stone, chest heaving from the run. Sira sat slumped nearby, her silver skin pale, her wound glowing faintly even after the medgel. She was breathing, but each breath sounded weaker. He glanced at her. You hold on. Just hold on. Her glowing eyes flickered open, hazy but steady on him. You can't fight them all. Maybe not, he said, checking the charge on his rifle. But I don't plan to make it easy for them. The ruins whispered with the sound of approaching boots. Mercenaries moved through the night, their armor shining faintly as searchlights swept across the hills. They were closing in. Jaren scanned the ruins quickly, his scavenger's eyes searching for anything useful. He saw cracked pillars, fallen, beams of alien alloy, and deep shadows where traps could hide. An idea formed. He moved fast, dragging heavy stone chunks into narrow paths. He set loose rocks on ledges, balanced just right. He laid his spare charges in the dirt, covering them with sand. Every second mattered. Sira watched him work, confusion mixing with faint amusement. You build traps, scavenger's trick, he muttered, tying wire across a narrow gap. You spend enough years picking through wreckage, you learn how to use it. Her lips curved faintly. You fight like no one I have seen. So reckless. Humans don't like dying quietly, Jaren replied, crouching beside her again. If we go out, we go out loud. Before she could answer, a sharp voice echoed through the ruins, alien words. Harsh and commanding. The mercenaries were here. Jaren gripped his rifle and leaned against the stone. His heart pounded, but his hands were steady. The first shadow moved through the ruins. A mercenary stepped into the open path, then his foot hit the wire. The charge exploded, throwing him back in a shower of fire and dust. The others shouted, weapons snapping up. Blasts ripped through the ruins, lighting the stones in bright flashes. Jaren fired back, his shots precise and unrelenting. Two mercenaries dropped, their armor sparking, their bodies hitting the dirt with heavy thuds. More poured in. Jaren moved quickly, ducking behind a pillar as energy blasts cracked the air. He triggered another trap, sending rocks crashing down. On their heads, the mercenaries roared in anger, their voices shaking the night. Through it all, Sira watched with wide eyes. Even wounded, she pushed herself to sit higher. Her glowing gaze locked on him. For the first time since they met, she didn't see him as just a scavenger. She saw him as something more. But the mercenaries weren't giving up. Their leader stepped forward, now taller, heavier, his armor lined with strange marks. His voice cut through the battle, sharp and confident. Jaren froze. He didn't understand the words. But Sira did. Her face went pale, her breath catching. He knows me, she whispered. Jaren fired another shot, forcing the others back. Who is he? Her lips trembled. One of my own. He was sworn to protect me, but now he hunts me. Jaren's stomach twisted. Betrayal. No wonder she had fled. No wonder she had been bleeding in the dirt. The leader raised his hand, signaling the others to hold. His glowing visor turned toward the ruins where Jaren and Sira hid. His voice carried across the stones, this time in broken human tongue. Give her, live. The words hit Jaren like a stone. His rifle felt heavier in his hands. Sira looked at him, her glowing eyes shimmering with pain. He means it. If you leave me, they will let you walk away. Jaren met her gaze, his jaw clenched. And you think I'd do that? Her eyes searched his, as if she couldn't believe it. She shook her head slowly. Humans, you are mad. Maybe. Jaren said, reloading his rifle with a snap, but at least we're loyal. The mercenary leader gave a signal, and the attack began again. Blasts tore through the ruins, stone crumbling around them. Jaren fired back, moving fast. Never in one place too long, he triggered another trap, sending a pillar crashing down onto mercenaries. But there were too many. The ruins shook with every blast. Dust filled the air, choking his lungs. His shoulder burned where a shot had grazed him. Still, he didn't stop, because now it wasn't just about protecting her. It was about proving something, proving that a single human could stand against the galaxy's worst and not break. At his side, Sira's hand clenched into a fist. Weak as she was, she refused to close her eyes. She whispered something again in her language, a word of strength, a word of hope. The night was fire and stone and blood. And in the middle of it, a human and an alien woman made their stand. The ruins were smoking. Stone pillars lay shattered. The air thick with dust and the stench of scorched metal. Jaren's rifle was hot in his hands, his body aching from burns and bruises. He crouched low behind a broken wall, pulling Sira close beside him. Her breaths came sharp and uneven, each one sounding like it might be her last. The glowing wound at her side had stopped bleeding, but she was weaker now, her silver skin pale in the flickering light. Outside, the mercenaries regrouped. Their leader barked orders, his voice like a blade cutting through the night. Jaren knew they weren't beaten, they were patient. They would keep pressing until both he and Sira were nothing but ash. He reloaded quickly, his hands shaking, his heart hammered not from fear, but from anger. He had stood against impossible odds, laid traps, fought with everything he had, and still it wasn't enough. Beside him, Sira stirred. Her glowing eyes opened, heavy with exhaustion, but steady. She studied him as if searching for something hidden beneath his human scars. You fight for me, she whispered, even now when death is certain. Why? Jaren gave a short laugh, rough and tired. Because I'm too stubborn to quit. And because you're not just some runaway. Her gaze lowered, her lips trembling. Silence stretched between them, broken only by the distant hum of the mercenaries' weapons. Finally, she spoke. There's something you must know, the truth. Jaren frowned. Truth about what? About why they hunt me, about why I bleed here in your arms. She shifted painfully, pressing her hand against her wound. Her voice was weak, but each word carried the weight of worlds. I am not just a fugitive, I am not just a thief. I was part of the council, the ones who built the weapon. Jaren froze. You helped build it. Her eyes filled with pain, not just physical, but deep, soul-crushing regret. I believed their lies. They said it would protect us, that it would keep our enemies away. But then I saw what it truly was. A weapon of fire that could wipe out entire systems with a single strike. Not defense, not safety, only death. Jaren's grip on his rifle tightened. The thought of such a weapon, something that could erase planets, made his stomach twist. I stole the plans, Sira continued, her voice breaking. I ran. I thought if I carried them far enough, someone would listen. Someone would stop it. Jaren shook his head, his voice sharp. You didn't just steal from your people, you betrayed them. Her eyes snapped to his, glowing fiercely. Despite her weakness, I betrayed murder. I betrayed genocide. If that makes me a traitor, then so be it. The silence that followed was heavy. Jaren stared at her, anger and respect warring inside him. She wasn't innocent. She had been part of the very nightmare she now wanted to stop, but she had chosen differently. And that choice was the reason she was bleeding here in his arms. You should hate me, she whispered, lowering her gaze. Jaren exhaled slowly. Maybe I should, but I don't. She blinked, confusion flashing across her face. Because you ran. He said simply, you made the choice no one else did, and now you're paying for it. Her lips parted, but no words came. For the first time since they met, Syrah's eyes softened not with fear, but with something almost fragile. Before either could say more, a deep voice echoed across the ruins. The mercenary leader had stepped closer, his armored frame casting a long shadow in the dust. "Syrah," he barked in their language, his voice cold and sharp. "Give yourself, end this." Jaren raised his rifle, but Syrah's hand caught his arm. Her voice was faint, but firm. "He will not stop, not until I am gone." Jaren looked at her, jaw tight. "Then we make sure he doesn't get what he wants." Her glowing eyes searched his face. "You would stand with me against your own death." Jaren smirked, though there was no humor in it. "I didn't drag you across half a mountain just to hand you over now for a moment." Something unspoken passed between them, a silent bond forged in fire and blood. Then the ruins shook with another blast. Stones rained down, thus choking the air. The mercenaries were closing in for the final strike. Syrah gripped Jaren's arm weakly. Her voice trembled, but her words were clear. "If I die, the weapon dies with me. But if I live, we can stop them, not just here, everywhere." Her truth burned hotter than any fire. It wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about the future of countless worlds. Jaren clenched his teeth, lifting his rifle with renewed resolve. "Then we keep you alive, no matter what." Outside, the mercenaries prepared their final assault. Inside the ruins, a human and a dying alien woman braced for the storm, two lives tangled together by a choice that would echo across the galaxy. The ruins trembled as if the earth itself knew the final storm was coming. Dust fell in streams from broken arches, and firelight flickered against the shattered stone. Outside, the mercenary army gathered, their weapons glowing, their leaders shadow towering at the front. Jaren tightened his grip on his rifle. His arm ached, his shoulder was burned, and his vision swam from exhaustion, but he stood tall. Beside him, Syrah struggled to rise, her silver skin pale, her wound glowing faintly blue. "You shouldn't stand," Jaren muttered, steadying her, her glowing eyes fixed on him. "If I fall now, everything I carried will be lost. I must stand." Their eyes locked, two souls from different worlds, bound now by the same fate. The mercenary leader raised his hand, signaling the charge. His voice roared in his tongue, echoing through the ruins like thunder. And then the night exploded. Blasts rained down, scorching stone, lighting the ruins in fire. The mercenaries surged forward, armor clanking, weapons burning bright. Jaren fired first. His shot tore through the night, striking the front line. He moved like a man possessed, ducking, firing, reloading without pause. Each shot bought them seconds. Each trap he had left behind slowed the wave, but there were too many. Syrah pressed against the pillar, her body shaking. She closed her eyes and placed her hand on a small device hidden at her side. The weapon plans compressed, encrypted, alive inside the crystal drive she carried. She whispered words in her language, and the crystal lit faintly in her palm. Jaren noticed the glow. What are you doing?" "If I die here," she whispered, "it ends here. But if the truth reaches beyond," her voice cracked, "it will echo across worlds." Jaren gritted his teeth. He fired again, dropping another mercenary. "Then give me the damn crystal." Her eyes widened. "You would take this burden. Better me than no one," he said firmly. For a moment, she hesitated. Then, with trembling hands, she pressed the glowing crystal into his palm. It pulsed with energy, heavier than any weapon he had ever held. The mercenary leader's voice cut through the chaos. "Syrah, human, surrender now or be torn apart." Jaren looked at her. She looked at him, and together they answered with silence and fire. Jaren charged out from behind the pillar, rifle blazing. His roar echoed through the ruins as he fought with every last breath. Energy blasts scorched his armor, burns tore across his skin, but he didn't stop her. Syrah, weak but fierce, hurled shards of alien alloy into the enemy ranks. Her glowing eyes burning with defiance. Even broken, she fought beside him, refusing to be erased. The mercenary leader stormed forward, massive blade in hand, striking aside rubble as if it weighed nothing. His voice thundered, "You cannot win. You are nothing but a man. She is nothing but a traitor." Jaren staggered, but kept his rifle steady. Funny thing about humans, he shouted back. We do impossible things every damn day. The leader lunged. Jaren met him head-on. Their weapons clashed, sparks flying. The sound ringing across the ruins. Jaren's rifle cracked against the alien's armor. The blade slashed across his shoulder, blood spilling. He fell to one knee. The mercenary lifted his blade for the final strike and Sira stepped forward. With the last of her strength, she pressed her glowing hand against the leader's chest. Her blood, her energy, her defiant soul poured into the strike. Light erupted, searing through the armor. The mercenary roared in agony before collapsing in a burst of smoke and fire. The battlefield froze. The remaining mercenaries, leaderless, faltered. Some fled into the night. Others fell under Jaren's final shots. Silence followed. Jaren dropped to his knees, gasping, his rifle falling from his hands. He turned to Sira. She was on the ground, her body trembling, her glow fading. No, he whispered, crawling to her side. He pressed his hand to her wound, desperate, refusing to let go. Stay with me. We did it, we won. Her lips curved into the faintest smile. Not one. Survived. That is enough, for now. She touched his chest weakly. Promise me. You will carry it, the crystal. Promise me it won't end here. Jaren swallowed hard. His throat burned. I promise. Her glowing eyes dimmed, but her hand lingered on his. As if even in weakness she trusted him more than she trusted the stars. Above them, the ruins stood silent once more. But the galaxy was already changing, because one human, against all odds, had chosen to fight, and one alien, against her own people, had chosen to trust. Word of what happened in the ruins would spread. Whispers would travel across systems, and when people spoke of it, they would say, a human found her bleeding, and what he did next echoed across worlds.